Guys, this is Colin, head coach at CrossFit Involved. We're going to go over our first movement of this series that will be released once a week. We're going to shoot for Mondays or Fridays, so be on the lookout for that. Today we're going to go over double unders, and this is one of the most technical movements to newer CrossFitters, and one that most people actually have. A lot of it is based on technique. And so today we're going to go over a couple points. We're going to spend about 2 minutes going over these. I'm going to first demonstrate what a double under is, which is just 2 rotations of the rope for every jump, which differs as a single is just a regular 1 rope rotation. So going under, this is what a double under will look like. All right, now, so some of the main keys. A lot of times people try to rush this movement too much. They fall apart really quick because they're thinking about 1 rep at the moment. They're thinking about getting that 2 rotations once. The way you have to think about this is you have to think about the long run. You have to think about getting 10 in a row, 15 in a row. If you're trying to, I always use the analogy of a baby bird falling out of a nest, trying to flap its wings. You don't want to use those elbow rotations, you want to use the wrists, because I can generate a lot more movement in that rope through my wrist quicker than I can through here. A lot of workouts get paired with shoulder movements because they want to see who has efficiency on this movement. So what we're going to go over a couple little things. Landing and jumping, that's the first key that we're going to start off with. And we do not want to bend our legs. So a lot of times you'll see some people do this. All that's doing is breaking a lot of things. We're wanting to try to focus on using strictly our calves and our wrists on this one, so that if we have other movements in the workout, it's not going to tax us and we're going to break down in fatigue. So I always imagine landing in the same spot, kind of as if I'm trying to do like that bar over burpee. We're jumping and landing on our toes. I want to be just as explosive and consistent. I want the same height each time. So work on that progression to start off with without a rope, just to make sure that you're consistent at taking off and landing and around the same height that you should. Over time, you can lower that as you get faster with your wrists, but for the most part, work on consistency. The second part is our arms drift. So when I take off, a lot of times this rope, these hands over time will drift out. I'm then shortening my rope. I'm going to catch my toes almost every time that happens. So what I want you to imagine is that you have a rope tied around you, like one of those old train movies where they're tied up and bound on the train tracks. We want that rope to be completely around us, and that's keeping our elbows tight to us. This is going to take my shoulders out of the equation. I'm going to only focus on using my wrists. Real quick, I'm going to show you an exercise to strengthen your wrists that I like to show my athletes real quick. I'll be right back. Now, you can use any types of bands that you want. I'm using a little bit thicker of a band that's a little bit heavier. To start off, I would use a lighter band. And all I'm going to do is practice building that rotation all in my wrist. This is extremely hard after a while because that band builds momentum and it's way heavier than the rope. That's just going to build that wrist strength and kind of the awareness of using your wrists. You're kind of wanting to whisk it like if you were baking rather than try to fly out of that nest, right? We want to keep those wrists moving. The one kind of cue I give is to think jump 1, 2, jump 1, 2. So when I'm doing these double unders real quick, I'm going to practice thinking. It's all about jump 1, 2, jump 1, 2, jump 1, 2, jump 1, 2. And I want to mimic that and think about that. And I'm trying to stay as relaxed as possible. The more flustered you get in a double under, the likelier that you're going to kind of the tracks or the rails are going to fall off, or the wheels are going to fall off the tracks, and you start getting panicked and things start going south. So I want you to practice those. Remember, stay calm, feet placement, wrists, and don't let those arms drift. Another thing is rope selection. Everybody always says go right here. It depends on where your hands are. So if you go higher, you want a little bit longer of a rope than if you go lower. All right, play around with that. Hopefully that helped. Next time we're going to go over a different movement. Maybe snatch, maybe the rope climb. We'll drop that on our Facebook page. Go follow us. Also on Instagram. We're highly active on Instagram as well. CrossFit Involved, www.crossfitinvolved.com. Thank you.